This year's Major League Baseball All-Star Game will happen at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, hearkening memories of better than 4 decades ago, the 1970 Midsummer Classic at the then Riverfront Stadium. And the lasting memory from that game, of course, Pete Rose steamrolling Ray Fosse in a collision at home plate. Rose, of course, playing for the hometown Reds. Let's bring in ESPN Baseball senior Major League Baseball writer Jerry Crasnick with more memories from that. Jerry, I know you were a toddler back then watching in your living room, but what do you suppose the lasting memories of that home plate collision were?
Well, Jim, I wasn't exactly a toddler, but I was a baseball-mad 12-year-old in Portland, Maine, and I remember watching it from the floor of my living room. And, you know, back then, you didn't have games every single night. It was a big event when the All-Star Game came on, and I think it just really introduced America to Pete Rose, even though he had been a multiple All-Star and obviously had been a guy who was in the news. I think that really cemented his legacy in terms of here's a guy who will do anything to win, and he's the consummate competitor. And, you know, at the other end, obviously, you felt very bad for Ray Fosse being in such a vulnerable position. And I think what the contrast between then and today was such a violent collision to end an All-Star game.
Yeah.
You'd never see anything like that now. So just goes to show that it was in a completely different era.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it was interesting because I was reading about this. Ray Fosse confirmed the fact that they were out to dinner with Sam McDowell. Fosse, Pete Rose, Sam McDowell the night before the game. So you have to have a sense that there was somewhat of a relationship, some sort of friendship, if you will. But how did Major League Baseball players around the league take that? Because after all, it wasn't a game like it is now that determines home field for the World Series. It was considered an exhibition game, and I know they wanted to play those games to win much more back then, but how did other players take the fact that Rose took them out at home plate?
Well, it probably just depended on your point of view. You know, if you played with Pete Rose, he was a guy that you loved because he did anything to win, and it didn't matter whether it was the All-Star game or a spring training game. He was always running balls out and you know, that sort of thing. I think I'm sure there were some players who felt like, hey, this crossed the line, and do you really need to endanger a guy's health in a game that doesn't mean anything? So, as usual, it probably comes down a lot to where you stand on Pete and whether you're pro-Pete or whether you think maybe Pete crossed the line sometimes.
Did that Jerry, collision impact Fosse years later?
I think it did. I mean, you look at that season, he had 18 home runs, I believe. I think he hit a couple after the second half, after the break. He made the All-Star team the next year, had 12 home runs. But after that, his career really wasn't the same, and they found out he had an injury with his shoulder that he had played with. So even though Fosse might say, hey, it didn't have a huge impact on my career, it's hard to believe that it didn't. You get a shoulder injury as a catcher, it's going to affect your throwing, it's going to affect your power. So I do have to think it didn't destroy his career, as some people might have said, but it had to have some sort of enduring impact on his career.
He's ESPN Major League Baseball senior writer Jerry Crasnick. Jerry, thanks for some insight.
Thanks, Jim.
Jerry, looking back at better than 4 decades ago, the collision at home plate between Pete Rose and, of course, Ray Fosse at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati.